Hello, I'm Adam.
And I'm Joe. And today we're going to say it in unison this time, okay?
Okay, we're the Maladjusted Misfits in unison.
Stop. We're the Maladjusted Misfits. And this is the one where we talk about friends.
All right.
So we're on episode 4. Episode 4.
We've come so far so fast.
Episode name is The One with George Stephanopoulos.
Topical.
Which is topical. Which is crazy because you never actually see him in the episode.
No.
They talk about him, but you never actually lay eyes on George Stephanopoulos.
Right. So it should be the one with George Stephanopoulos' pizza.
Right. That would have been funnier. So the director, James Burrows, again, this is the 4th episode he directs, 4 out of 15.
Okay.
And you remember that thing they did recently called Live in front of a studio audience, where they did live reenactments of different strokes and facts of life? And
Right.
Snoop Dogg was on it.
Yeah.
James Burrows directed that.
That's fitting.
Yeah.
Seems like something right up his alley.
He loves sitcoms. So the writer, Alexa Young, I think that's how you say it.
Okay.
She directed 49 episodes of Friends. And she also
wrote or directed?
I'm sorry, wrote.
Wrote?
Yep.
Okay.
She also wrote for The West Wing, Grace and Frankie, and a couple other TV shows.
West Wing, so a lot of walk and talk.
Yeah.
Okay.
So tell us about the pilot from IMDb.
Okay, the pilot plot. Joey and Chandler take Ross to a hockey game to take his mind off the anniversary of the first time he slept with Carol, while the girls become depressed when they realize they don't have a plan. That's apt.
That tracks. Yeah. It originally aired on October 13th, 1994.
Yes.
Okay. You ready for some trivia?
I am ready for some trivia.
All right.
I haven't read any of these.
Okay.
I'm keeping my track record of being surprised.
All right. This one's really cool. So while I was reading IMDb trivia, I read that when Rachel dropped the pillow on the balcony, that was unscripted.
Oh, okay.
But then later in the episode, that guy drops the pillow back off.
Right.
So I was like, well, if it was unscripted, where did that come from? So I did some more research. I Googled and looked it up more. And I found a quote from Alexa Young, the writer. And she said, "The pillow falling thing evolved on stage, so it wasn't in the script."
Right.
So Jennifer Aniston dropped her pillow once and they thought it was funny.
Right.
So they said, hey,
do that again.
Yeah, do that again. And she said, so the ending came from James Burrows, or the actors are a result of everyone working together. Right. They always would bring the right actors in and ask them what they thought. Especially, I've heard that they would ask Chandler, what do you think Chandler would say?
Right. I've seen outtakes where they're consulting with Perry.
So she said that it was just a wonderful surprise bit, and it stuck, and they really liked it. And so that's how that part got in there.
Well, that's pretty funny.
I thought so, too. So this is the one where they go to the hockey game. Yes. And in 2002, the NHL installed safety nets after a 13-year-old boy died of a similar accident to Ross. Yeah.
Ow.
I mean, Ross was a big guy, so...
Yeah, I don't mean to laugh at that poor boy that died.
No.
It was shocking to hear that.
Yeah, so as a result of that injury, they started with, nets, kind of like how they have behind home plate and stuff like that. So. Also, the NHL game they technically go to see is Penguins versus the New York Rangers was not a real game because they were in a lockout. So they were striking. The hockey players were negotiating a collective bargaining agreement. So that wasn't a real, actual game. That game never existed.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And Chandler should know that Carol was the only one that Ross had slept with because they were roommates and best friends.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So
again, that's the stuff we've talked about before where, they're kind of at first they're feeling everybody out and kind of give everybody more of a history together later as they go on. But
and the last piece of trivia is the couch is brand new.
Oh, it's a brand new
or
couch.
It's fixed. Either one. They either reupholstered it or they got a new couch. Because it was beat up and holey during episodes 1, 2, and 3. Or 1 and 2, and in episode 3 they had a blanket over it in the coffee house. They had blankets over the back of it. But in 3, it's all shiny and new. So,
well, that's fun.
Yeah.
New reupholstered couch.
Yep. They were like, okay, we've been picked up. Let's get some furniture that looks nice. So, what was your reaction to the episode?
My reaction to this episode, let's see. Well, it seems like this is the first time where they've had the guys and the girls split off into their respective corners.
Yep.
They, address the existential crisis.
Easy for you to say.
Yes, of 20-somethings face when their whole life isn't planned out. But overall, I mean, it's a funny episode. I think it works. I think the only thing that I think is a little clunky is, the whole Ross losing, being so concerned with the date that he lost his virginity.
It's just so weird.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe at 25, it's something I would be more concerned about.
Maybe.
I mean, we're so far from that now that, but I don't know the date.
Yeah.
It just seems weird that. I mean, we'll talk about it as we go, but that was my I was like, this is very weird. The kind of it seems like they could have got to the point of Ross had only been with Carol a little bit differently than honing in on that specific date.
Yeah. I like seeing the girls do girl talk. I like eating the cookie dough and drinking and being separated from the guys. Again, Ross lamenting about the anniversary of his first time. That's a very sentimental dude right there.
He is very sentimental.
Not many guys remember their wedding anniversary, let alone the date of their first time. It was very historical for him, apparently.
Yeah. I do want to mention, as we're talking, that, this is our 4th episode. We recorded the first 3, and then we both got extremely sick.
Yes.
So if we're stuffy, or we have weird breaks, or we don't laugh a lot, it's because it's still hard to talk. We're trying not to cough like horses throughout the entire episode.
So, we went to Disney for a week at 50, and that was rough.
And then got,
really sick.
Messed up our immune system and got really sick on the way home. So
damn Floridians. I'm going to blame DeSantis. I don't know what it was, but DeSantis caused it.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. All right, favorite line. Mine was, "That's not for you, bitch." When Phoebe yells at the girl eating George Stephanopoulos' pizza. I just love it. And then she covers her mouth like, oh my God, I shouldn't have said that.
I'm going to go with another Phoebe line. I remember the day I got my first paycheck, there was a cave-in at one of the mines and 8 people were killed.
You worked in the mines?
No, I worked at Dairy Queen. Why? I mean, I really like just those weird little asides. Those are the things that I really like. It makes it fun. So, I love the redirect. And no, I didn't work at a mine. What are you doing? Those, New York City mines.
I think it was from her past life. She, worked in. She's had so many lives. So.
Oh, I see. You're saying a completely different life where she wasn't even Phoebe Buffet.
Yeah.
Before she got to the city.
Yeah. Who knows how long Phoebe's been alive. But then again, she talks about Dairy Queen. So those aren't very old. Never mind. Forget that. So my favorite moment is when all the girls are just laying around contemplating their life and they have no plan. I just like how they're haphazardly strewn about the living room, and I just like that moment when they're just, having a serious discussion.
And you already brought up my favorite moment is when the guy knocks on the door and returns the pillow.
Hilarious.
He's just
to Chandler, who has no clue.
Right. He's just like thanks.
He wasn't there. He just takes the pillow and says thanks.
I think he just recognizes the pillow from Monica's apartment. It's like, all right.
All right.
I like to imagine Monica on the balcony waiting for somebody to walk by and going, hey.
Yeah.
Can you bring out my pillow to
apartment 20.
blah, blah, blah.
Favorite outfits. I had to go with, you picked one that I really like, so I picked a different one. I really liked Rachel's little black skirt and shirt in the cafe in the opening. Mm-hmm. She has like a black button down and it's tied and then a little flouncy skirt. It's just cute. Right. She always looks cute when she's waitressing, and I always felt like I wanted to have like the most comfortable outfit on when I was waitressing, and those tight clothes were not. But she's a cafe waitress, so...
Yeah. Yeah, and mine, which I stole yours, I guess. Mine was Phoebe's jammies.
Yeah.
The
onesie.
The onesie, black and gray stripes.
Yeah.
She just looks super cute in them. They just look comfy.
Yeah. I really like Phoebe's hair in this one, too, or maybe it's the first couple episodes, because it looks like her hair's naturally curly. Mm-hmm. And then, so it's got these ringlets around her face and everything.
Right.
And then in later episodes and seasons, it's straight.
Right.
So.
It's very straight.
Yeah,
I like Phoebe's look in the earlier. It's funny because most of their looks get a little bit better, I think, as time goes on. But Phoebe looks so natural and, and relaxed.
Yeah.
And, she looks like... I don't know, like an Act 3 person in a, movie, like, Thelma and Louise.
Right.
Get looser and looser as they go on.
She's always loose, is what you're saying.
Right. Dramatic line reading. They want to know if I'm okay. Okay. They want to know I'm okay. Okay, let's see. The FICA guys took all my money. Everyone I know is either getting married or getting pregnant or getting promoted, and I'm getting coffee, and it's not even for me. So if that sounds like I'm okay, then you tell them I'm okay. Okay.
All right. We open at Central Perk, the cold open. Monica, Phoebe, Rachel, Ross, and Chandler. And they talk about being omnipotent for a day. And Phoebe says she would ask for world peace, no more hunger, good things for the rainforest, and bigger boobs. And Joey walks in, and they ask him what he would do if he were omnipotent for a day.
And Joey misunderstands the question.
He misunderstands the word, yes. And says he'd probably kill himself, because if little Joey's not working, then what does he have to live for?
And that's a healthy attitude, Joe.
Right? Yeah.
That's a 25-year-old attitude.
If I can't have sex, And then Ross goes, Joey, I'm omnipotent.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ross.
So if you were out all powerful for a day, what would you do?
Bigger boobs for everyone.
Oh, no, thank you. No. I'm good.
I don't. Let's see. Omnipotent is all powerful.
Right.
So, you're talking a lot of control there. I think I would really remake the world in 24 hours.
Yeah.
There would be a lot of changes. That would be a busy day.
I'd figure out where in the Loki timelines things got fucked for humanity and go back and change that. I think it started with the invention of Crocs. So.
You think that's the low point?
That's the low point of humanity. There's probably worse, but in my lifetime, Crocs is like the downward trend. And then scene 1, Central Perk, Monica, Phoebe, and Ross. Phoebe is sound asleep.
Right. So they're all wearing the same thing. So this is later that day. Mm-hmm. So Phoebe came to Central Perk. They talked about being omnipotent.
Yep.
She had a giant cup of coffee and then fell asleep.
Yep. Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
Anytime, day or night. It's my superpower. It's never too late for coffee.
I cannot do that.
I thought it would, peter off as I got older, but I could still go get coffee at midnight and still go right back to bed.
Yeah. Well, your dad might have baked that into your DNA. He drinks it straight from a thermos
right.
24 hours a day.
The 3 heart attacks didn't do anything. So Phoebe wakes up and she explains that she can't get any sleep because her grandmother has a new boyfriend and they're very deaf and hard of hearing and they want to reassure each other that they're having a good time. I can't imagine.
I don't know. Lisa kind of smiles at this moment like it's her 5th time going through this monologue, little description.
Oh, that's
She
funny.
looks like she's had to do that. Like she keeps
it goes cracking
herself
out.
up.
Oh, I love to see them break character. And Chandler and Joey enter, and Joey's talking how it takes 97 steps from their apartment to the coffee shop. And Chandler goes, "You have too much free time."
Yeah.
I think that's something that I would have done. I would have
Counted the steps.
I think so. I think if that was someplace we went every day, we walked to every day, I would just be like, I wonder how many steps it is.
Now, my one aunt was one of those people that I guess she counted everything. Like she knew.
Like that was her.
Like that's how her mind worked.
Oh.
She just counted everything all the time, like new steps and stuff. And I was like, that was one of the first things that I heard that I was like, wow, people can be really different. Because I don't pay attention to stuff like that.
I mean, I don't do it all the time.
At all.
But I think I would for that. So, and then they invite Ross to the hockey game and they say happy birthday and he yells at him and says it was 7 months ago. So there's a lot of controversy. I've read this multiple times, even before we started doing this podcast, of when Ross's birthday actually is. Because in this, he says his birthday it was 7 months ago. And then in later episodes, it's October 17th. Which would have been around the time. So it would have been several days, not 7 months. So it's kind of like they were still trying to figure out and the continuity. Whoever was in charge of keeping track of those things for later episodes did not track that.
See, now I think it'd be funny if it was the opposite, where if they were like, let's never put a beat on Ross's birthday.
Right.
Every time we reference it, let's have it be drastically different. Just to annoy everybody.
I'm not sure that they thought that way. But
now that would
be
be something I would do if I was just have it'd be funny if the other 5 had specific birthdays that always made sense.
Right.
But Ross's always changed.
Right. So then he asked what day it was, which it's the 20th, and this is the day that Ross and Carol first consummated their love for each other.
Right.
And Monica hoped that Ross wouldn't remember the date.
She knew ahead of time.
Today was the 20th.
She was like, oh no, it's the 20th. This is the first time that Ross put it in Carol.
Gross, don't say that.
I hope he doesn't realize that because it's going to make him down.
That's nasty. That's gross. I don't want to know that about either one of my brothers.
Right.
Then he goes, maybe I shouldn't go. Maybe I should go home and think about my ex-wife and her lesbian lover.
Let's all do that.
Joey says
sounds
that.
much better than a hockey game.
Right? And then, come on, big guy.
Come on.
What are you doing?
I don't know. I like that it reminds me of me and my friends, when we were young, that we were never quite those kind of guys.
Right.
But every now and then we would be like, come on, let's. This doesn't feel right for us.
And then Rachel comes from backstage with her first paycheck. And then there's Phoebe's favorite line, your favorite line of Phoebe's, when the miners died. And then who is FICA? That is a funny first paycheck gag. I've seen in a couple movies and commercials, and I've even seen TikTok videos of like parents videoing their kids opening their very first paycheck, and they're like, "What the fuck?"
I did the math like 700 times.
I made $10 an hour times 80 hours. I should get a check for $800.
It's very simple. And then it's not. But yeah, everybody's so disappointed. I think your example is incorrect. Mm-hmm. You know, most people's first paycheck is, I worked 6 hours.
Oh, right. And I got $3.
So, you know, but everybody's always looking forward to that first paycheck, and it's always such a hit.
Yeah.
This is one of those things that they really should teach better in school.
Sure.
You know, they should, these are the things they need to prepare you for.
Right.
In high school.
25% of your check is going to be gone for federal taxes, state taxes, unemployment taxes, Medicare taxes, you know, all that is going to come out, and it's about 25%, give or take. Right. And so I always just, you know, make that like assumption. So then they're like trying to reassure that she can live off of that.
Oh, can you imagine how much Rachel was making as a waitress in New York City in 1994?
In a coffee shop.
In a coffee shop?
Yeah.
It was probably nothing.
Yeah.
It was probably...
Oh, man.
So nothing.
Well, that's why I'm like, you know, it would be really cool to try and figure out how much Monica was actually paying in rent. To be like, how can she shop? How can she have food? How can she, you know? Like 1994, I was trying to think of where I was working and what I was doing. I mean, we were married and we were renting your mom and dad's house.
Right. Because they had moved out.
Yeah, but it was only like they were only charging.
Telling the audience.
Oh yeah. They were only charging us like $250 a month. And even then, for both of us having full-time jobs, it was still like a struggle for us. So. Right. I can only imagine.
And that was far outside of New York City.
Right. And then the guys leave, and the shopping triplets enter.
And I hate them.
Oh, and they scream hello. Yeah, they're pretty stuck up. You don't like the line where you look like you're in a play.
No, I like that. It's such a funny line for a snooty person to say.
Right.
You look like you're in a play.
You're wearing an apron, so you must be in a play.
You look like you're dressed up, Rachel.
This is the runner-up for my favorite line when Monica and Phoebe go, I have elbows. Ah!
Yeah. I was initially going to try and get you to do a bunch of screams so I could add them throughout the episode. But us being sick, I was like, there's no way we can do it.
I can't do it. But you said you were surprised that when they made fun of them, that they knew that they were being made fun of. They gave her a dirty look.
Right.
Like,
they look like the kind of people who would be like, oh, they're screaming too. Oh, this is fun. They don't look like they catch on that they're being made fun of.
And then we switch to Backlot Avenue, your favorite. Mm-hmm. Chandler, Ross, and Joey are hiking their way down the sidewalk. And then Ross goes, oh, Carol was wearing these boots just like this the first night we...
And the first boots that I looked at in the window, I was like, oh, what? Those boots? Like, oh, he means the other boots. The one pair of boots is really scary looking.
Really? I didn't notice. I think I focused on the tall, thin leather boots that I would assume that she was wearing that she didn't take off.
Right.
And then they continue walking, and Ross gets sad about a peach pit, but it's actually a nectarine. But it's the same.
And then he says he walked her to the
bus stop.
And Joey's like, that woman has ass like Carol. And I'm on Joey's side. I mean, I was unclear as to the rules of the game, the I Spy game of things that happened the day Ross lost his virginity. Carol's ass would have been there. It makes perfect sense.
It's true.
But this is the part where I'm like Ross goes down some weird sentimental journey that I've never been on those. Yeah. Like, oh, this is kind of like the thing that I don't do those. I mean, I have sentimental things that I get sad about, but this seems like a stretch to me. I don't know.
Yeah. And then we flip back to Central Park. Rachel and her old friends are sitting up against the window.
Leslie, Joanne, and Kiki.
Kiki. Talk dirt on Rachel dumping Barry at the altar. Like, the biggest news is still you. So I noticed as they're sitting there, you know, because we watched through it a couple times, 4, 5, 6, that while they're talking, this scenery, you know, there's a window and people are walking by outside, and there's a fake building backdrop. And it's waving as people walk by. It's a curtain.
You can see it billowing in the air.
Yeah, you can see it billowing in the background. And I just noticed it on my last watch through right before we sat down to do this. Like, oh, look, that's moving.
That's funny. Yeah, I didn't notice that one. I'll have to keep an eye out for that next time.
And then they ask her, when are you coming home? And, like, is home, like, they live in New York, right? But it's not the city, so they must live in... like a suburb of...
Yeah, I mean, she's from Long Island.
Long Island,
so I assume that they live on Long Island.
I see, and they came to the city.
Yeah, again, the whole scene kind of looks like the Uptown Girls coming downtown.
I see.
To where Rachel's working in a coffee house. But yeah, it seems really weird.
And then Rachel tries to reassure him that she's not just a waitress. She writes the specials on the board, and she changes out the dead flowers, and sometimes Arturo lets her put the blobbies on the cookies.
Right,
the chocolate blobbies.
Well, she didn't tell us about the blobbies.
Because that makes it all better. You're not just a waitress. You get to put chocolate blobbies on the cookies.
Right, which it's one of those things. I see what they're going for. You know, she's kind of proud of the independence, and she's proud of these little things, you know, that she gets to do.
Right.
But at the same time, it's Rachel, and she's not a very good waitress. So
So then we go back to Monica's apartment. Monica and Phoebe are already there, and Rachel comes in, and they do the scream. It's Rachel.
My horrible scream. My voice is so fried.
And then there's your favorite outfit.
Yeah, Phoebe's in her PJs.
Yep. And then she's making tiki death punch. And Rachel says, what is that? And she says, it's rum. And and takes the whole thing.
It sounds like a drink I came up with.
Oh, a tiki death punch?
Yeah. Tiki death punch. And then, again, the girl's name was Kiki. And then you have Tiki. I don't... It's that naming thing when you're writing and you kind of getting a little...
I should have looked up if Kiki was short for something, or is that her, like, birth certificate name? Kiki von Schnauzer or something. I don't know.
Oh, ouch.
No, I didn't say she was a dog. I was just trying to think of Von, and then all I could think of was Schnauzer. So nothing against her. They're going to have a slumber party, so they have cookie dough, and they have the tiki death punch, and they got Twister. And then Phoebe says that she brought Operation, but she lost the tweezers. So they can't operate, but they could...
We could prep the guy.
That's right. You could get him all ready.
And again, this sounds like so... Like, I don't remember ever playing Operation. Like, I remember putting the stuff in there and trying to get them out.
Right.
But I don't think we ever played.
No. I think it was one of those things where you're like, ooh, Operation, I'm going to get this thing out. And just take out all the stuff. We never took turns. And we would do it until someone buzzed, and then we put it all back, and then someone else. So I didn't know if there was dice or turn taking or what.
But the prep guy reminds me of Mousetrap, too.
Yeah.
Like, I remember getting out Mousetrap and building the whole contraption and never playing the game.
Yeah. It's just like you built this Rube Goldberg machine, but never actually took turns. I couldn't even tell you what the game part of Mousetrap was.
No.
I have no idea.
No. It was just like you get it, and then you'd be like, okay, push the ball down the thing.
Right. So then the phone rings, and it's the Visa card people, and they're concerned about Rachel. They want to know if she's okay. I can tell you right now, and I've been alive for 51 years, never got a call from the Visa card people asking if I was okay, if I spent too much, if I spent too little, if I did. The only time they call you is when you missed a payment.
Right.
But what is on point is that they call back the same night. When you'd say, oh, that person's not here or they're not available, they would call back that same night. Right. They'd call multiple times. Right. So,
well, imagine how much she was spending on a regular basis for them to call her.
To be like, what the heck?
Like, you never got called because you were never spending as much as Rachel Green.
True. And then they say, she does her little "Am I okay?" speech.
Am I okay? I don't know.
And then she goes, "Let's play Twister." And I just like the way she says that. It's pretty funny.
Well, because it's a funny thing to, like, no, you never hear anybody say, "Let's play Twister," sadly.
So now we're still in Monica's apartment. Oops, sorry, wait.
Nope.
Sorry. Okay, so then we go to scene 5, Madison Square Garden, Chandler, Ross, and Joey. And they're going to their seats. So they must have got there late because everyone's already seated. And those are the only 3 empty seats.
Right.
And then Ross goes, uh-oh.
And Chandler's like, oh, my God, what is it?
Right. Was there ice? Was there blah, blah, blah?
You need to stop with the Carol nonsense. It's stupid and pointless, and I don't know what you're doing.
And sometimes the way that Chandler reacts reminds me of the kids sometimes when they were little and they would be constantly talking about something and they kept bringing it up and have something to say about every little thing, and you turn to them, what are you talking about?
There was ice.
Yes, there was ice. It was the first frost. Like, who the fuck remembers that shit? The first frost. I don't even remember the day, the season, the month. I don't know.
Ross, after it happened, must have went home and wrote a super long journal entry. And then
diary.
Monica read it.
Oh. And then they sit in their seats and...
Their seats aren't together, but they are together. They have really good seats for a sitcom camera placement.
Oh, okay. So they're in that little triangle. And then we go back to Monica's apartment with Monica, Rachel, and Phoebe. And, Monica's trying to cheer Rachel up. Like, you're doing this amazing independent thing. And then Phoebe goes, like Jack and the Beanstalk. And they're like, what? Right. But my favorite line of Phoebe's in that story when she's talking about it is, you live in the village. Just like that.
I like when Rachel's like, but it wasn't a cow. It was an orthodontist. And yeah, I didn't love him. And she's like, oh, well, Jack loved the cow.
Yeah, Jack loved that cow. And then life is floopy. And Monica says, well, someday it'll be unfloopy. And
like that's a word.
Right. But I love when she's like, what if it doesn't become unfloopy? And then Monica goes, Phoebe, and Phoebe goes, I don't like this question. You're not being fun and quirky and cute anymore, and I don't want to talk serious. So.
And I really like, again, this is a good Aniston episode. She's got some good line delivery in this one. But I love when she's like, what if we don't get magic beans? What if we just get beans?
Oh, no. Beans. And then we head back to Madison Square Garden, and they're enjoying the Rangers game.
So there's a guy sitting next to Chandler that has a look on his face that's like, this is what a guy sitting at a hockey game would look like. I am nailing this. I am acting my ass off right now.
Right?
I mean, he's sitting there watching hockey with the look of Rod and Birdemic walking down the street.
Rod.
Like, you're not believable as a person who's sitting watching hockey.
I thought he looked like John Mulaney at first. I thought it was him until...
John Mulaney would have been like 2.
You're right. He's much younger than us. So, and I don't really know anything about hockey, but it was supposedly a Rangers, like the New York Rangers and Penguins, and I told you it wasn't a real game.
Right. But now the Rangers, they did win the Stanley Cup the year before this, and this is the season that the old coach left. They only came in 4th in the Eastern Conference. Yeah, I know that because I watch hockey. And
No, you don't.
No, Okay. Well, I Googled it.
Oh my God. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's the Eastern Conference.
I just wanted to sound like I knew something about hockey.
It's fun to watch. That's all I know. And this is where we get a puck cam, or the POV of the puck.
Right. I love the puck cam.
Yes.
Anytime they do something weird with the camera, because they don't do it that often on Friends. But the little spinny puck right in front of the camera, it's zooming in on Ross's face.
Yeah. And then they're on the Jumbotron. Chandler's like, look, we're on that giant TV. So then we cut to the emergency room. We come back from commercial break to the boys arriving at the hospital. And then another great character actor, Mary Pat Gleason, is the nurse. She's great. I love her.
Yeah, she's always fun.
She's just funny.
She's one of those, she plays the same role in everything.
Yeah, she's got that sarcastic bitchiness about her. And she's calling a hotline because she's unsatisfied with the candy bar.
It must not be a Snickers bar. You can't see what it is, but...
Right. She is not happy. And then you had asked if the admitting person in the ER was a nurse, an actual nurse.
Right. Yeah, so. I was thinking about when we go in, the few times we've been in an emergency room, the person's never dressed like a nurse, the first person you talk to.
Okay.
But
I did look it up. So they're called triage nurses. And so they're the first person that sees you when you arrive at the ER to work out how serious your illness or injury is. They provide any immediate first aid, and they prioritize care. So who gets to go in first or not. So
okay. And this is the predicament room.
Oh, Chandler.
I love that she's like, oh, any minute now.
Right.
Like, we're supposed to not like her. They have a few characters in the first couple seasons, like her and the crazy laundromat lady.
Yeah.
Are kind of annoying real life people that you kind of... I think the nurse would have just cracked Chandler up. I think he would have been...
He would have been playing with her all night.
Yeah.
So then we go back to Monica's apartment. Monica, Rachel, and Phoebe. And they're sad because they don't have a plan. I like Phoebe laying on the floor with the 2 straws and her hair like Cousin It covering her face. It's so cute. Because Phoebe doesn't even have a pla. And then the pizza guy arrives. And
Sean Whalen. He's a character actor. He's been around forever. He was in Twister, not the game.
The movie.
The movie about tornadoes. There'll probably be a Twister game coming out soon.
Oh, God.
Or movie. He was in Lost. He was in a lot of horror movies, too. Yeah, I watch a lot of horror films. So.
He's an easy target.
Yeah.
And so the pizza guy is delivering a mushroom, green pepper, and onion, and Rachel does it's so funny because it's so Ross too, like that's how Ross would react tonight if something, no, we ordered a fat crust pizza with extra cheese, and blech, that sounds terrible. And then they have George Stephanopoulos' pizza, and they're trying to... Rachel's like, who's George Snuffleupagus? And Phoebe goes, that's Big Bird's friend. And he tells him... Monica says, was he a small Mediterranean guy in a nice blue suit? And he goes, he's mostly just in a towel.
I remember George Stephanopoulos, being around at the time. Mm-hmm. I don't remember anybody thinking he was attractive.
Yeah, I don't remember that big a deal.
And obviously they did. But I love when Rachel sticks out her hand at shoulder height. The little guy. Like, she doesn't go above her head. She just goes, the little guy.
Right. And then they're spying on George. They get out the binoculars, and that's when my favorite line is, that's not for you, bitch. And then we cut back to the emergency room with Chandler, Ross, and Joey.
And Joey's doing the 3D puck game.
Yeah.
He reminds me of a little kid being in a waiting room. We adopted 2 kids.
Yeah.
When you're sitting around waiting for hours.
Get called back.
And they're just kind of like, ooh,
yeah.
The things that you do when you're in a seat and you're bored.
Right. You can't get up and move around.
And again, before cell phones.
Yeah. Yeah. I read somewhere that Matt said he was doing exactly that. He was trying to be as immature and little kid as possible while waiting. And that was his.
Right. I think the worst experience I remember myself doing is being with my mom in the fabric store and doing the just laying down on the ground. When is this gonna end?
Oh my gosh, that's funny. And then Chandler tries to work his magic on his charm on the admitting nurse again, and she is not impressed.
No. Don't be mad. And one of the things I like about Chandler as a character is that the audience loves him. He's one of the audience favorites. They love Chandler, they love his jokes, but the characters in the show are always annoyed by him.
Yeah.
And I like that juxtaposition of, they know that we as the audience like him,
right?
But the characters, even the friends are like, okay, Chandler, come on.
Right. We swing back to Monica's apartment, and they're out on the balcony this time watching George Stephanopoulos, and the lights are still out, and Rachel says, they're having sex. I don't want to. And then Monica says she thinks that George is shy, and that you have to draw him out. And then when you do, he's a preppy animal.
Now, all I can think of is, what would a preppy animal be? So then I started thinking, I've never been a preppy guy. I grew up in the 80s, so preppy guys were always the villains.
Right. They were the Miami Vice wearing people.
So, I was a goonie. I wasn't the preppy guys.
Right.
So, I was trying to think, what would a preppy animal, if you were going to draw that? The only thing I can think of is, a penguin.
Oh, all right. But that's not sexy.
No, that's not.
Not that animals are sexy. I'm just,
Right, but
if you were thinking of a sexy animal,
right.
It would not be.
I was trying to think of a preppy animal.
Yeah.
If you were going to draw a preppy animal. And all I can think of is penguin. That's
funny.
The only thing that...
Well, he's about as tall as penguin. And then we swing back to the emergency room. Chandler, Ross, and Joey. Ross is still waxing poetic about Carol, and Chandler looks like he could die.
Right. Again, he's been in the waiting room for hours.
Right.
With Ross being hurt, talking about Carol.
Yeah.
And he's like, could I get some painkillers?
And then he goes, what's the big deal? You slept with her for 7 years after that.
And again, I'm on Joey's side.
What's the big deal?
Right. And the only thing I can think of during this part is, hey, set decorator, why is there a vertical line of 8 grapefruit in the vending machine right behind Chandler's head? It looks like some kind of weird connect the dots game going on.
It's all symmetry. And when you brought up the vending machine the first time we watched it, I said I was wondering if those are real or if they went out and found 8 fake oranges or grapefruits and put them in the vending machine.
They just had to put something in there.
Right. And I've never had a vending machine that had as much fruit in it. But
you see those in the hospital. You see them in weird places like hospitals where they have the sandwiches and the fruit and they have the little door that slides open. But that row of them is just weird.
That's funny.
It's like some kid went around.
Lined them all up.
Lined them all up for something to do.
That's funny. So then Joey starts, what is it? And he goes, my first time with Carol was my first time. And then I love when he goes, with Carol?
And again, this is a weird thing for
Yeah.
Ross to obsess over. I don't know the date of our first time. I mean, it was obviously our wedding night.
Oh, yeah, sure it was.
So I guess I do know the date. But It's not one of those things that...
Yeah.
But again, I'm horrible with dates. So like...
I'm not so bad with dates, but it's just not one of those things that I was like, I better write this down and keep track of it. I don't know.
Right.
And then Joey goes, well, there was a whole bunch of stuff we could have done tonight.
Like what, Joe? What could you have done?
Yeah. Like, what could you have done to have taken his mind
I don't know
off?
what he means. I mean, normally when people say stuff like that, you kind of like, oh,
yeah.
Like, I assume Joey means like going to a strip club or something like that, but that's not a given the circumstances. Oh.
And then we go back to Monica's apartment, Monica, Rachel, and Phoebe. And then they're telling secrets to each other, or they're like, bringing up memories. Confessions, yeah. And so she says, you remember that vegetarian pate you love so much? Unless goose is a vegetable. It was pretty funny.
Now, remember when, I remember in the 90s when people could give a shit about respecting vegetarians'
right.
bounds on things. And this is very much of the time, I feel like. Nowadays, people are a little more, like, oh, if you're making those choices,
right,
fine.
Right.
But, like, I'm not a vegetarian, but I can't imagine being like, just giving somebody meat and not saying anything.
Right. Well, I mean, I have a few vegetarian friends, and if they haven't had meat in a long time and then you reintroduce it into their diet, they can get pretty sick. So,
right.
And then Phoebe confesses that she slept with Jason early, a couple hours after he and Monica broke up. Like, nothing big. And then the pillow falls, and we know that the story behind the pillow, that it wasn't actually scripted, but they somehow worked it in, and it's this funny gag. It's really funny.
Yeah.
And then poor Rachel tells Monica her Valentine from Tommy Rollerson was from her. She was like, she was a big girl. And then Monica makes fun of Rachel and says, well, you peed your pants in the 7th grade from laughing so hard.
Yeah. And I'm not aware of this ever happened to happen. Anyone.
Shut the fuck up, man. Just drop it.
Heard of.
Just shut up.
That anybody would pee their pants.
Hey.
Okay.
I said drop it. There might have been a couple of occasions.
I said I was unaware of it happening to anyone ever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then she says, oh, look, there he is. And then she goes, where have you been looking all night? Where else would he be? And then they ask him to drop the towel, and he apparently drops the towel. But nobody's using the binoculars, so how close?
Right. I can't imagine Georgie S. is across the street wow-worthy.
Yeah. He's a little guy. Not that anything's little. Everything else is little. But then, they can totally see into Ugly Naked Guy's apartment.
Right.
They totally see George Stephanopoulos drop his towel. It's like, New York, put up some curtains, man. What the hell? Then we go back to the emergency room with Chandler, Ross, and Joey. And Joey and Chandler are talking about Ross only having had sex with one woman. And Chandler goes, I think it's sweet. I think it's romantic. And he goes, you do? And he goes, nah, that guy's a freak.
And again, like Chandler's had a lot of
experience with the ladies.
I mean, he's with Janice right now, so maybe he feels like he can.
Right. And then the nurse, Ross, comes out, and he has that weird contraption on his face from breaking his nose.
Oh, that's attractive.
And Chandler says, you were great in Silence of the Lambs.
And again, Mary Pat is supposed to be annoying, but she just cracks me up. Yeah, and again, maybe it's because she's picking on Ross.
Yeah.
It feels like picking on Ross during this episode. He's depressed about something. But,
right, again.
But he's always depressed, so
right.
Go ahead, pick on him. It's fun.
And then we get the puck cam again because Ross asks where his puck is, and some kid took it, and he says finders keepers. And then they fight over it, and it goes flying across the waiting room, and Mary Pat gets hit in the face with the puck.
Well, she gets hit in the head.
Oh, she gets hit in the head.
It goes for her face, and then somehow she gets hit on top of the head. And then she presumably has to wait in her own emergency room for service.
Right. Any minute now. And then the stinger or the close of the episode, they're all 6 friends are back in Monica's apartment. They're playing Twister. And this is your favorite moment when the guy knocks on the door and hands back the pillow. Right. Which they had to write in when they added the gag of Rachel dropping the pillow. So that's pretty cool to me. And then Phoebe does...
It's so random. And I love that the guy doesn't even say anything.
Nope. Just hands the pillow back to Chandler, who has no idea what's going on.
And he looks like kind of annoyed.
Yeah. Like this is the 10th time I've brought this pillow upstairs.
Or he looks like me. I was walking by and Monica yelled at me from the balcony. Right. And I was like, fine, I'll take it up.
They're playing Twister and Phoebe gets right hand blue, bends over right in front of Joey. And he's not disappointed. He's
not complaining. I'm not going to say anything.
No, don't. You can only make it bad, so don't. And we'll talk about in later seasons, but, I could have seen Joey and Phoebes together. Like, I think they have great chemistry. I think you could probably hook any of the two of them up. And I think they wanted to play the Ross and Rachel game was the thing they had from the outset. But then I think once they kind of figured out that Chandler and Monica were going to end up together, I think it was like having all 3 of them hook up. Would have been weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then Visa calls again, and Rachel says, "Can you take my place?" And Chandler goes, "This is Rachel." She goes, "No."
Chandler, it's fun Chandler stuff.
Yeah, And then she says that she's okay. She's got magic beans.
Her friends are her beans. Metaphor.
And then we have...
quote Drax.
Metaphor. And then the episode ends, so... Excuse me.
It says to call the number if you're not completely satisfied with this candy bar. Well, I'm not completely satisfied.
Listen, it's kind of an emergency. Well, I guess she'd know that, or this would be the predicament room.
Hold on. Fill these out. Sit over there.
I'm scared now. All right, what themes did we explore in this episode, Adam?
First-time sexual experiences and sharing them with the family.
Gross.
Numbers of partners is important, I guess.
Right.
One's too low. And it's okay to not have a plan, but maybe you should have a pla.
Right. What do you think you learned from this episode?
What did I learn? I should have paid more attention to specific dates.
Yeah.
In my life. I remember being in our 20s and thinking that everything needs to be planned out. I mean, we were we definitely made sure everything was planned out in our lives, and it worked completely according to plan.
You were such a bad liar. We didn't have anything planned out. We had a few things that worked out in our favor. We talked about plans and things happened, especially when you adopt 2 kids, which is fine. But then when you adopt 2 kids with special needs, your plans go out the window. I remember when we were like young and we were like, we're going to get a big house and we're going to adopt as many needy kids as we can. And then we adopted 2. And then we were like, fuck that shit. This is hard. This is really hard. And so we stopped at 2. So we're sorry, 8 other kids out there that we promised to adopt someday, but we just couldn't do it. So.
The whole, this episode really reminds me of in the movie High Fidelity, when John Cusack's talking about his relationship with Lily Taylor. Mm-hmm. And he's like, there's a specific kind of person who thinks they're going to be alone because they're alone at 28.
Right.
Feels like they're going to be alone for the rest of their lives. Right. This reminds me of that, that 25-year-old. Oh my God, I have to have everything planned out, and I know what it's like. even if you don't have magic beans, you're going to have stuff to do.
Yeah.
There's plenty to do.
Right.
There's plenty to keep you busy.
For sure.
Don't worry about it so much.
All right. What are your final episode thoughts?
I liked the first girl-boy split they did. I enjoyed the girls having their time together. And I think it's a little funny when you look where the guys kind of end up and, jokes about Chandler and stuff later on, that their first inkling was to have them going to a hockey game together. It's kind of amusing to me.
Right.
But they really had, the guys had fun as guys and the girls had fun as girls. And I thought of this because we just watched a movie that will not be named, because I don't want to just pick on something randomly.
Oh.
But we watched a comedy movie that wasn't very funny a couple days ago. And there was it was a comedy movie, but there was a lot of people being sad within the movie.
Right.
And there's a lot of sad scenes. And it's like, the movie wasn't a dramedy.
Yeah.
It was a straight comedy.
Right.
But there was a lot of scenes of just people being dour. And Friends is very good at people being bummed out, but being funny.
Yeah.
The show is still funny. And I like that they kind of can handle that, because obviously not everybody can do that.
Yeah.
And it's a really tricky thing to do. So kudos to them for having Rachel have this existential crisis, but it's still a very funny episode.
I like the split. I like the girl talk. I like how the guys make fun of Ross all night, lamenting about his first time. And I like the end, that they all end up together in the end, that they all come back together and seem to lift each other up. And I miss that. Everyone used to hang out at our house when we were around that age and come over and talk. And now I'm like, it's after 10 o'clock, you fuckers. I need to sleep.
Right.
So nobody hangs out at our house anymore. So sweater vest tracker.
0 sweater vest.
0.
At least they didn't send Chandler to a hockey game in a sweater vest.
That's right. He had his backwards baseball hat. So 0 episode total. But overall, we're holding at 6.
Which it's episode 4, so Styx is still way ahead of the game. Yeah. They're ahead, so still not too shabby, even with the 0.
And then next week is
the one with the East German laundry detergent, which has what I consider Ross's first big missed opportunity.
Oh, okay.
With Rachel.
Okay.
They play the will they, won't they for a while, and they introduce Italian guys and stuff like that. But this is the first one where, if it would have been me, it has been like, okay, there's some clear places where you could have made your move.
Right. You'd have been done, had that by then, right?
Oh my goodness.
Just kidding.
Anyway, we'll get at all that fun stuff next week.
All right. Next week, just remember, we're the Maladjusted Misfits. You can email us at themaladjustedmisfits@gmail.com. So until next week.
Until next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I got magic beans.